Up next, we've got an exchange I had with someone on Instagram on a post made by Craig Lieberman about a GTR selling for a lot of money, okay? And so my initial comment is, I don't know. This appreciation on these cars is great if you own one, but man, I'm not super keen on paying that much extra money for a badge and drivetrain. I'm leaning towards the GTT RB30 route at this point. Just do the GTR drivetrain with an RB30, change the exterior, you can do the interior if you want, and you've got a great car that mechanically drives like a GTR just fine, if not better. And it's still cheaper. It's definitely cheaper to insure, so it's pretty reasonable. And so, we've got a person responding to my comment, whom I have blurred out his name, because he owns an R34 GTR in Midnight Purple 3, and a Midnight Purple R33 GTR. Now, I don't know how he has the R34 GTR in the US, because the only cars that are eligible for show or display are Midnight Purple 2 cars and M-Spec Nurs. So I don't know how he has that in the country. At this point, I don't care about that stuff that much anymore, because you guys don't either. So I'm just not going to really harp on it that much. So his response is, why is it that every GTT owner facelifts then to just look like a GTR? I really wish GTT owners would actually be proud of the car they own and not try to make it something else. You'll notice I'm not going to harp on this guy too much, because I see where he's coming from, but his mental maturity is still pretty disappointing for someone so successful. So someone else actually responds, well, maybe because the GTR simply looks better and the wider arches account for bigger tires that you definitely need if you run big power. GTT grills look hideous too. They really do. They really do. So then I respond to the GTR owner, and I say GTR fenders look better to me. I'm not paying $130,000 for fenders and badges. So his response is, you're buying a Skyline because of looks. Well, no. My original comment spoke about a different powertrain and other things like that. Like, again, it's like these people have no short-term memory. So he says, so you're buying the Skyline because of looks. You think that's the only difference between the two? Again, I never said anything like that. Would you buy an Impreza and turn it into a fake STI, then claim the only difference is looks? No. No! What reasonable person would do that? Hell, the car community has gone so downhill. I think this person has a god complex or something. A superiority complex? Is that what it's called? Everyone just wants clout. And so someone else responds, what? Bruh, you are delusional. You can install GTR fenders and still be proud to own a GTT. You think I don't know that the GTT only has the RB25 and is rear-wheel drive? But imagine paying 100 grand because you think you couldn't have wider flares any other way. And his response to them is, so I guess all those fake, I assume he's trying to say Evo owners, but he says ego. So I guess all those fake Evo owners were real proud of their Lancers. You don't fake or cover up something by, just so we're clear, the whole reason why I'd rather have a GTT and make it look like a GTR and drive like a GTR is because, to me, a GTR will never be worth $110,000. Ever. It is that expensive because of hype and popular culture. It is not because of motorsport history. It is not because of any of that. The R32 GTR has more of a motorsport reputation than the R34. It is infamous. The R32 GTR is the car that earned the nickname Godzilla. The R34 GTR is popular because of movies and video games. If we're talking about something like a McLaren F1, I can understand why those cars are so valuable. Tens of millions of dollars. But that's because they are legendary works of art. An R34 GTR, even as an aftermarket platform, is not better than a lot of cars you can get for much cheaper. Now, someone who wants one for $110,000 and can afford it, you don't have to justify your decision to me. If I could afford it, I would be tempted too. But because I don't have the income, I'm not going to bankrupt myself for a drivetrain, an engine, and some badges. Why would I do that? That's stupid. So I guess all of those fake Evo owners were real proud of their Lancers. You don't fake or cover up something by trying to change it into something it's not. If you think people buy GTRs because of the fenders, you're out of your damn mind. When did I ever say that? Even though this person owns these cars, his behavior is very similar to the last guy. Starting to make assumptions about why we think the way we do, with no real information as a basis. So he says, when did I ever say that? It's just a matter of fact that you build a GTT for much cheaper than a GTR. And putting flares on your car doesn't make it a fake. The fake only comes into play when you claim it's an Evo or a GTR when it isn't. But I see nothing wrong with putting wider flares on a GTT. Same reason I will put M3 flares and hood on my 335i someday. Which, again, makes sense. That makes total sense. Boost Almighty, welcome to the chat. Most would buy it for the look, the MFD, cool looking spoiler, plus the engine and all-wheel drive. But an RB26 head on an RB25 still using rear-wheel drive and a big single turbo is gops of fun too. Or maybe he tried to say lots. But I like gops. And he's definitely right. And so I'm back, and my response is, my point is simply that it is cheaper to get a GTT, RB26 swap it, swap the GTR drivetrain, and do all the interior, exterior stuff. It will still be cheaper in the long run. I love the GTR, but I'd rather do a zero-to-hero build on a GTT at this point. And so Xantor says, yeah, my point exactly. Plus you built something for yourself for less money. And so, again, because this guy just can't make a reasonable argument, he just starts saying nonsense again. He says, you won't do all that work. I'm sure when you rebadge it, you'll be telling yourself it's the same thing. Which again, this guy is successful enough to own these cars. How can someone who thinks like this have a car like this? How is that possible? I guess you don't need common sense to be rich. I don't think that's necessary. I'm not gonna quote the studies or try and find them and cite my sources, but weren't there studies done that showed that people in high-ranking corporate positions or even CEOs showed a lot of psychopathic qualities, traits, or behaviors, tendencies? We might be seeing that in action here. Anyway, so I say, why do I have to do the work when a qualified shop can do it? And who said I would be putting GTR badges on anything? Not sure why you'd have any problem with someone building their dream car but doing it the way they can afford to. Sounds elitist to me. And he says it is. So at least this guy admits he's an elitist. So he gets 1 point out of 10. It is. Go ask an Evo owner if they respect a fake Evo, then an M owner, then an AMG owner. It's the same thing. Now here I can say this. I'm an M owner. And if I saw someone put an S54 into a 330 Ci, I'd think it's kind of cool. Which is the truth. Because I just appreciate people doing things they enjoy. I can understand why putting an M badge on and misrepresenting the car as something else might make some people grit their teeth. I can get that. I can empathize a little bit. But I never said anything about a fake GTR. Just an R34 with an RB30 and a GTR drivetrain. And then he never said anything else. Because he realized that, well, either he realized he wasn't going to get through to me, or he realized that his whole problem with my comment is nonsense. So that's cool. One thing I've observed is that GTR owners, Skyline GTR owners, are no exception to the 12-year-old mentality. Because we have another GTR owner in here that we will speak to in a moment, or read the comments of. But this one's a funny one. This is just two comments. I think this person deleted them because I can't find them anymore. But this was on my Z-Tune video, and his comment was, you missed an R34, the coveted and super rare R34 Z-Tune. And I go, what do you mean I missed it? This whole video, excuse me, was about all the known existing Z-Tunes in existence. All the ones that we know of and where they are, and who owns them. Or at least where they were spotted. So I'm like, what do you mean I missed it? And he says, you did not mention it's got 1,000 horses, with an apostrophe, an insane 0 to 60, and you did not say anything about it. I own one, and the Z in Z-Tune stands for Zilla-Tune, as in the Toho monster Godzilla. We know this person's young, so I won't rip on them too much, but I just think this is kind of funny. So I say, the Z-Tune never came with 1,000 horsepower, and they aren't legal in the US. And so his response is, and I didn't click read more when I took the screenshot. however long ago it was that I posted that video. It might have been back in 2019. So he says, 1, a twin turbo and a racing cam gives it 1,000 horsepower. Let's stop right there. All R34 GTRs come twin turbo from the factory. All R34 GTR Z-Tunes have turbos made by I think is what it is. I don't know how to pronounce it. It might be a word. Twin turbo from Nismo. I think they make like 500 something horsepower. I can't remember how much horsepower a Z-Tune makes. Changing the cams does not allow you to make 1,000 horsepower. Because I don't think... Is it the Nismo GT rods and pistons and all that? Is that what they're called? I don't think those are meant to sustain that much power. They might be able to. I've never heard of anyone trying to make a Z-Tune, an RB26 Z2 engine, make 1,000 horsepower. Would a 1,000 horsepower Z-Tune be cool? Absolutely. 1,000 horsepower. 2, no R34 is legal yet, but you can in fact import an R34 Z-Tune into this country. I think he's talking about America, because it's a rare example of an R34, which is not true. In order to have a car be imported under the show or display exemption, you have to make an application to the NHTSA, and they have to approve it, which allows you to have the documentation you need. You can't just buy a rare car in another country and then try and ship it over. Customs will tell you, get that out of here, because you don't have the show or display exemption. So you need to make an application to get it put on the exemption list. And so I say, in my response, what is the name of the Z-Tune engine block? Who made the Z-Tune turbos? How many Z-Tunes were made? What is the paint on the Z-Tune called? And currently, the only R34s that you can import into the US are the M-Spec NER in Midnight Purple 2 V-Spec. I said that to quiz him, just to kind of indirectly call him out for just not knowing what he's talking about. And by the way, the name of the Z-Tune engine block, it has the GT500 engine block, otherwise known as the Triple R, the RRR. The standard stock, you know, V-Spec, V-Spec 2 and all that, M-Spec, not M-Spec NER, non-NER spec block is called the 05U, okay? And the NER spec block is called the 24U. Who made the Z-Tune turbos? We already discussed that. How many Z-Tunes were made? I think it's like 19 or something. What is the paint on the Z-Tune called? It's called Z-Tune Silver. And currently, we already answered that. That's not even a question. So, yeah, that guy, kid, whatever. Up next, we've got an R34 GTT owner. If you guys remember, in a vlog where I said, should I get a non-GTR Skyline, I discussed the idea of buying the R34 GTT on Top Rank's website. It's a 2000 manufacturer year car, fully stock, great condition. Actually, I don't know if it's a GTT. It might not be a 25 GT, but it doesn't matter. It's a very nice car. So I say, as a kind of throwaway piece of commentary, wouldn't it be cool to convert that into a GTR and do a cool build with it? And keep the lightning yellow, because I really like lightning yellow. So this guy owns one of these cars. It has a factory body kit you can get as an option, I guess. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure we'll see in a second. His comment starts with, please don't rape another EV1, which is the color code for lightning yellow. Please don't rape another EV1 ER34 and dress it and dress it up into another generic vapid GTR mock-up. Also, swapping any RB26 into a Neo-equipped car is absolutely brain dead. You are legitimately putting a worse engine in. Just stick to 124 scale models. I like how people can't say they don't like what someone else said without just being aggressive. Like, there are some angry people in the world. So my response is kinda grouchy, lol. And then he never responds, but another person responds and tries to defend him. And he says, blah blah is right. EV1 ER34s are rare enough as it is. It's true. They are. We've gone well beyond the point of modifying cars without consideration anymore. Which, if you treat your cars as an investment, maybe, but otherwise you don't have to care. But only about 700 EV1s were made for ER34s, and God knows how many are left. Probably not many. Probably a few hundred. And this is my response. Well, in the end, if I buy one, I can do whatever I want with it. He already has one, and he can personalize it the way he considers is the right way. And his response is, what do you mean? I just checked his channel, and his ER34 is stock. That's a factory Altia body kit, which was optional from the showroom, which I didn't know. Regardless, that's just a shit mentality to have, honestly. I gotta fit in, so I never said anything about fitting in. I just wanted to mod a car the way I want. Regardless, that's just a shit mentality to have, honestly. I gotta fit in, so I'll mod my car the same way everyone else has. I don't care how rare my car is. I just want to be unique. He just contradicted himself. I gotta fit in. I gotta modify my car so I can fit in. But then in the same like quote, he says, I don't care how rare my car is. I just want to be unique. Like, he has a problem with both of those things. I think that might be a slash, not an I. Never mind. And so I say, I'm confused about why you're getting aggressive. I'm always confused when people get aggressive. All I was trying to say is, let people do what they want. If I got an ER34 of any color, I'd want to make it look GTR-esque, because that is what would make me happy. Not sure how that's a shit mentality. I ain't dogging him for his tastes, just the fact he doesn't approve of my ideas. And he says, and this goes back to what I said in my first comment in the thread, the Skyline is reaching a new zenith in car culture, and it's becoming harder and harder to justify modifying it just because you can. Stop treating this car like it's a McLaren F1, which is still the car I would modify. If I had the money for an F1, I would modify it. I would tune it. I would make sure it could make 850 brake horsepower, because the S70/3 is definitely capable of that. Like, I will do whatever the hell I want. These people have no control over their worlds or whatever, and so they have to control ours. The Skyline is reaching a new zenith in car culture, sure, and it's becoming harder and harder to justify modifying it just because you can. I don't want to stop people into doing what they want to do, but those same people need to think. I don't want to stop people doing what they want, but I still have a problem with people doing what they want. That's just my translation. I don't want to stop people into doing what they want to do, but those same people need to think critically about the future of those cars, unfortunately. Although I've never been a massive fan of GTRs, I can understand why people are so enthralled with them, and to each their own, in quotation marks, which just kind of feels like sarcasm. But when the day comes when you or someone else wants to find a blank slate ER34 or a vanilla BNR34, it's just going to get harder and harder when people continue to modify them. I don't care if I buy a modified car or a stock car. If I find a fully built ER34, I'm still going to tear it apart. Doesn't matter. This might sound like I'm just coping, but these actions have their consequences. No, they don't! Stop treating your car like an investment. It is not a house. It's a car. As they make finding spare parts a nightmare, believe me. I don't believe you. I think you're insane. And I said, oh, I never said I'd be targeting full stock cars or anything, although I am the sort of person that would tune a McLaren F1 if I had the opportunity, but only because I love personalizing stuff. I like the feeling of knowing that even if my car started out rare and special, I want to make sure it is unique no matter where I go, which is why I didn't include Midnight Purple or Bayside Blue in my poll a few days ago. I think a Z-Tune Silver ER34 will be gorgeous and will sound fantastic with the such and such manifold and this turbo, which I think is what I was talking about in the video. And he doesn't respond, because he realized he was an idiot. So anyways, one last person. Final person. I don't know how long I've been doing this for. 50 minutes. Jesus. We've got another GTR owner here. This guy owns an R33 GTR. And this exchange that I had with this guy started out good. So, his comment on my video about, I think, yeah, how would I build an R34 GTR? And his comment is, I laugh when people do these videos and do not currently own one themselves. I own two R34 GTRs, an R34 GTS-T, an R33 GTR V-Spec, and I live here in the US. Personally, I would only listen to someone who is driving one. No disrespect, but you won't know what it's like until you own one. Nengun is one of the most expensive sites you can buy parts from, and most of their inventory is on back order. I learned that the hard way. A few things to unpack here. Someone owning a car. Owning a car does not make you an expert in that car. You know what it's like to drive one. It doesn't mean you know anything about it. Okay? All the knowledge I have now about my E46 M3, I had years before I owned it. So clearly, I mean, that's his own personal preference, but I trust my own research, and it's done well for me so far. So that's weird logic, in my opinion. and he's kind of doing a humble brag a little bit. I'm credible because I own this many cars. And my argument would be, I'm a credible source of information because I have spoken to Sean Morris, read several articles. I use GTR Registry, which is a known first, primary source. If you made it through second grade, you know what a primary source is. You should always use those. And using those makes you credible as long as you cite your sources. So, yeah, whatever. So this guy says that, and so my response is, fair point. I can see where you're coming from as to why someone who owns these cars might have more credibility. But I think that regardless of whether you own the car or not, effort is still required to do research and learn reliable information. I work with Sean Morris, Greg Lieberman, have consulted Rips Racing in the past, and try to stick with reliable databases like GTR Registry. I may not own these cars, because I can't, but I definitely know a lot about them. There will always be things only experience can teach, but being prepared never hurts. Your R33 looks awesome, by the way. Is it an RB30 with a 26 head? So I'm trying to be friendly, because he says, thanks. Yup, RB30 26 block, built by Robbie from Rips, New Zealand. So obviously a quality engine. Shipped to Philly and installed by me. Another superiority complex here. I have all these cars, I'm credible, and I do my own work, therefore I'm better than you. I also have an R34 GTR. He already said that, but he felt the need to say it again. We're getting an insight into this guy's personality here. It's very interesting. I also watched your video on importing your dream car. A lot of the information is inaccurate or incomplete. I know that. But I'd made that video based on an interview I did with Sean Morris over the phone. And I tried to stick to what he told me, but I can't include everything. And so I told him, hey, I made some mistakes in a video, and I've only just noticed. And Sean Morris, my primary source of importation information, said, that's okay, people make mistakes, still a good video. I trust Sean more than this guy. He says, bro, I understand you are trying to grow your channel. Not really my motivation for making informational videos. I'm just trying to spread information. If it helps the channel, sure, that's great. But I stopped making informational videos because they weren't reaching as many people. Why put effort into something if it doesn't have, it's not having the desired effect? So, oh well. But I would say until you have more first-hand experience, I would hold off. There's a lot of bad information being passed along by vloggers. Don't be one of them for content's sake. And to answer your post, when I finish building my R34, it will have a TB48 5.44 stroker electronic compound 106mm turbo. 106? Paddle shifting sequential OS Gaikin. God dang. I forgot how insane he claimed his car was going to be. He might be telling the truth. I'm not saying he isn't, but whatever. I don't really care about his build. And I said, Robbie's a legend. Learned a few things from him when I first started doing research, and I'm aware some of the info in my videos will have mistakes or be incomplete, but I never do it for the sake of making content. I am simply trying to spread information and give people's research a head start. The comment section is an important part because there are people out there that can correct me, and I welcome that. The importation video was made possible with the help of Sean Morris, so I have faith that in layman terms, my videos are a good start for people just starting their research and will point them in the right direction. This particular one was more for fun though, not intended to be informational. I was just saying how I'd want to build an R34. And he goes, what the what? That made no sense. You know your videos have mistakes, but want to give people a head start. So giving me instant information is giving them a head start. Which is not what I said. I was just admitting I know I can make mistakes, and so my videos will probably have mistakes in them because the topics I am covering are very technical. So he says, okay bro, go right ahead SMH. And so my response is, and he hasn't responded since, as in, I'm making these videos to the best of my ability using sources I know to be credible. I know I'm not perfect, therefore, I'm sure I'll make mistakes or leave things out. But ultimately, there is still value in what I do. Now this guy is probably the most reasonable out of all these people. His logic is still kind of flawed. Not quite so aggressive though he did kind of start rude by saying, I always laugh at people when they make these videos, when they know nothing. I laugh at people that aren't as cool as me. I laugh at people that aren't better than me or as good as me. Like, the Skyline fandom does not set the bar very high when it comes to common sense, intelligence and just being pleasant. But that's okay. I'm here to be pleasant for you guys. I'm always going to try and be nice to you guys, with these people as the exception, because these people don't entirely deserve it. But anyways, that's all of the nonsense. That's 5 people, though I might have cut this video up into 2 parts because the first guy was ridiculous. And hopefully you will not be these people. Don't be an Herald, aka and I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if I'm going to make more like it, because these are just people I remembered, because people that spout nonsense are quite memorable, because it's always fun to kind of just think and go, oh yeah, there's some weird people in the world. And it's just sometimes very memorable if you stand out. So thank you so much for watching. If you like what you've seen so far, or anything else on the channel, and you're not subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because you'll love what I've got planned, and I hope to see you all next time. I'm the Racing Joker. I love you. Bye-bye.